I asked my brother not to bring his girlfriend to my wedding. My brother Alex has this girlfriend named Louise, and she literally can't stand not being the center of attention for even 5 minutes. At every family dinner, every party, every gathering, she always finds a way to make everything revolve around her. Last Thanksgiving, she announced she was pregnant right when my dad was about to carve the turkey. It turned out she wasn't even pregnant. She just wanted to see everyone's reaction. So, when I was planning my wedding with my fiancé Ryan, I knew I had to do something about the Louise problem. This was going to be my day, the only day that was supposed to be about Ryan and me, starting our life together. I called Alex about 3 months before the wedding. Hey, about the wedding? I started. I need to ask you something kind of awkward. What's up? He said. And I could hear him eating cereal in the background. I really don't want Louise to come. I know it sounds harsh, but she always turns everything into drama about herself, and I don't want that stress on my wedding day. The line went silent for about 10 seconds and suddenly Alex exploded. Are you seriously telling me this now? Are you uninviting my girlfriend from your wedding? I'm not uninviting her because she was never invited in the first place. The invitation was just for you. It's the same thing. We've been together for 2 years. She's practically family already. I tried to explain that it wasn't personal, that I just wanted one drama-free day. But Alex wouldn't accept it. He told me that if Louise couldn't go, then he wouldn't go either. I told him that was his decision, hoping he'd change his mind. He didn't. And this is where things get crazy. On my wedding day, I was getting my makeup done in the bridal suite when my cousin Madison bursts in running. You need to see this, she says, shoving her phone in my face. It was Louise's Instagram story. She had posted about 15 videos getting ready, doing her makeup, choosing jewelry. And in the last one, the caption said, "Can't wait to celebrate love today," with the location tagged at our wedding venue. My heart dropped. She was coming anyway. Madison nodded. Alex is outside right now arguing with your dad. He says he changed his mind and decided to bring her. And there I was, in my wedding dress, half my makeup done, and I had to deal with this. So I marched out, in my robe and slippers. I found Alex by the venue entrance, arguing quietly with Dad. My brother looked strange, nervous, nothing like the confident Alex I knew. Alex, what's going on here? I asked directly. No beating around the bush. He turned toward me, and for the first time I noticed he had dark circles under his eyes. He looked exhausted. Look, Sarah, I know you said you didn't want her to come, but what? I interrupted him. You promised me you'd respect my decision. Dad came closer and put a hand on my shoulder. Sweetheart, maybe we should talk about this after the ceremony. No, Dad. We talk about it now, I responded firmly. This is my wedding day. I'm not starting it with lies. Alex sighed deeply and ran his hand through his hair. Sarah, there are things you don't know about Louise. Things that I can't tell you. What kind of things? I asked, crossing my arms. My brother looked around nervously as if afraid. Someone else would hear. Last night when I told her we weren't coming to the wedding, she threatened to hurt herself. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. What do you mean hurt herself? She said if I humiliated her like that, if I made her look like a fool in front of everyone because she'd already been bragging about the wedding on social media, Alex swallowed hard. She would cut her wrists. Dad and I stood in silence. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Alex, that's psychological manipulation, I finally said. I know, he exploded. Do you think I don't know? But what am I supposed to do? Risk something happening to her? I stared at him. My brother, who had always been the stronger of the two of us, looked completely defeated. When did this start? I asked. What? The threats, Alex? When did Louise start threatening you? He looked away. They're not just threats, Sarah. Last week I found sleeping pills scattered all over her bed. She said it had been an accident, but it wasn't. No, it wasn't, I finished for him. Alex nodded slowly. And when I asked her about it, she started crying and said she felt very depressed because no one in your family accepts her, that she feels rejected, and that maybe it would be better if she just disappeared. I felt anger growing in my chest, but not toward Alex. Toward Louise. Listen to me carefully, I said, taking him by the shoulders. What you're describing to me is emotional abuse, Sarah. No. Let me talk. Louise is manipulating you using fear. She's emotionally blackmailing you to control you. Dad intervened. Sarah's right, son. That's not love. That's control. Alex was quiet for a moment, processing our words. But what? If she really hurts herself? He asked with a broken voice. I couldn't live with that guilt. Alex, people who really want to hurt themselves don't announce it as a threat to get what they want, I explained. Real mental health problems require professional help, not having their partner give in to all their whims. At that moment, Madison appeared running toward us. Sarah, Louise just arrived. She's in the parking lot with a super flashy gold dress, and she's taking selfies next to your wedding decorations. Alex closed his eyes and sighed. I don't know what to do anymore. I looked at my brother, then at Dad, then at Madison. An idea began to form in my mind. Alex, do you trust me? What? I'm asking if you trust me, yes or no. Yes, of course. Then I need you to do exactly what I'm going to tell you, I said, feeling a determination I hadn't felt in months. And Dad, you too. Dad felt whatever you need, daughter. First, Alex, you're going to go to Louise and tell her she can stay for the ceremony, but after the reception, you have to leave early because you have a work emergency. But I don't have any emergency. You're going to have one, I interrupted him. Dad, do you know anyone who works in private investigation? Dad frowned. Yes, I have a contact. Why? Because I suspect Louise isn't who she says she is. And if I'm right, we need proof. Madison looked at me curiously. What kind of proof? The kind of proof that shows Alex that all of this has been an act from the beginning, I responded. Madison, I need you to do me a favor. Whatever. I want you to approach Louise during the reception like you're her friend. Compliment her dress. Ask her about her work, her family. Basically, get her to talk about herself. What for? To record the conversation, I said, taking out my phone. Something tells me Louise is going to contradict herself. Compulsive liars. Always do. Alex looked at me with a strange expression. Sarah, do you really think... Alex, think about it. In 2 years, have you met any of Louise's friends? Her family? Anyone from her work? My brother stood thinking. Now that you mention it, she always says her family lives very far away and her friends are too busy to socialize. And her work? She says she works from home for a digital marketing company. Have you ever seen any evidence of that work? I asked. Alex frowned. He didn't respond immediately. He just looked at the ground, as if not knowing whether to defend her or accept the obvious. Never. She says her clients are private, that she can't show anything because of contracts. I didn't say anything. I just stared at him. His silence spoke louder than any defense. Dad took out his phone. I'm going to call Ernesto, he announced as he walked away. The old guy from your uncle's restaurant, do you remember, Maddie? Madison nodded. Dad made the call from the car. He came back minutes later with a serious face. He's going to start today. He wants everything. Name, social media, anything. Do you have anything recorded? I'll do it, Madison said. Louise never shuts up. I just have to approach her and ask what she wants to hear. Alex looked increasingly uncomfortable. This isn't right. She's my girlfriend. And this is my wedding, I reminded him. The ceremony started shortly after. Everything was going well. Until Louise appeared in the front row with her gold dress, shiny like metallic paper. She was crying. Seriously, she was crying loudly. At first I thought she was faking it, but then she started sobbing right when Ryan and I were exchanging vows. It's so beautiful, she said out loud. Everyone turned. Alex looked at her in horror. I looked at her with rage. I wanted to ignore her. I finished my vows with a firm voice. But every word of mine was one step closer to something inevitable. She had come to ruin it. She wasn't going to stop. At the reception, Madison went into action. She approached Louise with a champagne glass. And a smile. You look radiant. Is that dress new? I ordered it from Miami, Louise responded, delighted to talk. Alex helped pay for it. He always supports me. Madison was recording with her phone in her jacket. And your work? Are you still doing digital marketing? Yes, of course. Now I have a Canadian cosmetics account, but I can't give names. Minutes. Later, at another table, Louise said she worked for a Mexican company. And when they asked her about her mother, she said she lived in Switzerland. Madison had told me that before she mentioned Argentina. 3 different versions, half an hour. That night, I showed the audios to Dad. His fingers tensed as he held the phone. This is getting serious. Louise was still on the dance floor, laughing. Alex watched her without knowing who he was looking at. I went to the bathroom. She was there, touching up her makeup. She turned when she saw me. Sarah, I'm sorry about before. I got emotional. It's okay, I responded without expression. Are you upset with me? I looked at her. Her smile was pure surface. Not yet. When I came out, I noticed that her reflection in the mirror no longer smiled. The reflection in the mirror no longer smiled. It was still, alert, as if it had heard something behind the door. Louise looked at me one more second before going back to applying lip gloss as if nothing had happened. I left the bathroom without turning around. At the reception, Madison intercepted me with an intense expression. I have 6 minutes recorded. Contradictions everywhere. Work, family, even the story of how she met Alex. At one table, she said it was at a bookstore. At another, at a birthday party. Send me everything, I asked her. Dad already sent the earlier stuff to the investigator. The party continued its course, but I wasn't there anymore. I smiled for photos, cut the cake, toasted, all on autopilot. Meanwhile, Louise kept moving among the guests, like a bee in someone else's flower, oblivious to the smoke she left behind. I noticed how some looked at her strangely. Even so, she continued. The next morning, Dad called me early. Ernesto found some things. So fast? He starts with the basics. The full name Alex gave him doesn't appear on any payroll of the company she says she represents. And there's more. Her social media only exists from 3 years ago. Everything earlier was deleted or never existed. Was walking around the kitchen with the phone in my hand, still with yesterday's makeup barely erased. And what does that mean? That there's something she doesn't want us to know about her past. Do you have more recordings? Madison's. I'm sending them to you now. I hung up and on impulse called Alex. He answered with a low, muted voice. Is something wrong? He asked, though he already knew. Alex, tell me something. How old is Louise? There was silence. 27, I think. Yesterday, she told one of my aunts she was 29. Then, to a friend of mine, 25. So? It's not normal not to know your age, or to make it up, or change it depending on who you tell. Alex let out a dry laugh, humorless. Maybe she made a mistake. Did she also make a mistake when she said she knew your mother? What? She told 3 different people different versions about your family. That your mother adores her. That she's never seen her. That you already live together. Do you know what she posted on Instagram today? Thank you for welcoming me as one more in the family. As if this wedding had been for her. Alex didn't respond. I could hear his breathing. He was really listening, for the first time in a long time. Dad says there's more. That Ernesto is verifying her legal name. Apparently, she's used other aliases. Did you know anything about that? No. Alex, have you ever seen her ID? No. And you never found that strange? Sarah, I was in love. I didn't think about that. And now? He took his time, but responded. Now I'm afraid to think about what I'm going to discover. And he hung up. That night, Dad called me again. This time, his voice was more serious. Sarah. The guy found more serious things. Nothing criminal yet, but concerning. What things? Lawsuit for breach of lease contract. Another for improper use of credit card. Both in another state, under a different surname. The photos match. It's her. Just with a different hair color. My throat closed. And Alex? He still doesn't want to hear everything. He says he wants to verify it himself. But listen to this. According to Ernesto, there are records of a restraining order from 4 years ago, from a family that accused her of threats and trespassing. Is that order still active? No, it expired. But it remains in the files. I leaned against the kitchen wall. For the first time, I felt a real knot in my stomach. It wasn't just about Alex. It was about all of us. And what do we do now? We wait. We gather everything. And if necessary, we confront her. Louise posted another story that same night. A boomerang toasting with Alex, with a romantic song in the background. But in the video, Alex wasn't smiling. His face was to the side, his gaze absent. He had started to notice what we already knew, that the story he was living wasn't real. Alex began to understand that nothing around him was really as he believed. Not the stories, not the gestures, not even the love he thought he had built. And although he didn't say a word, his silence began to have cracks. The day. After the wedding, Ernesto, the investigator, asked to speak directly with me. I met him at a downtown cafe. He brought a folder, but he didn't need to open it to know that what was coming wasn't going to please me. Your brother is tangled up with someone dangerous, Sarah, he said without beating around the bush. What did you find? 3 ex-partners, 2 men and 1 woman. all with the same pattern: fast, enveloping relationships, and then threats, emotional blackmail, and in one case, a supposed medical emergency, invented to prevent them from leaving her. I leaned back against the chair. Have you talked to them? Yes. I contacted one Tomas. He lives in another state. As soon as I mentioned the name Louise, or rather, Rebecca V., which is how he knew her, he asked me never to mention her again. He told me he was in therapy for a year after getting out of that relationship, that she faked being pregnant to keep him. I had to squeeze my hands on my knees to keep from trembling. And the woman? Similar story: emotional manipulation, suicide threats, constant crying, social isolation. She convinced her to move in together and then left her in debt. I felt nauseous, not because of the details, but imagining Alex trapped in the same hell. Does she always present herself as Louise? Ernesto shook his head. Rebecca V. Reeb, even Isa on a forum where we tracked her with help from a cybersecurity contact. It seems she adopts names according to the environment, always different versions of herself. What about her family? Nobody wants to talk. Found an address linked to her legal name. An older lady answered the door, didn't identify herself, but when I mentioned Louise, she slammed it shut. According to records, she's her mother. There's a restraining order issued in that same city 3 years ago. The mother got a restraining order against her? Yes, she accused her of threats, attempted assault, and property damage. In the record, there's something I want to show you. He opened the folder and slid me a copy of the document. There was a statement from the mother that said, "My daughter has invented pregnancies, illnesses, and threats to manipulate those around her. I fear for my safety and that of others." I couldn't read anymore. Does Alex know this? Not everything. I showed him the basics. I offered to let him talk to Tomas directly. He hasn't responded. Do you think he's in danger? Not physical, but he's under a type of violence that doesn't leave bruises and that makes it harder to see. I thanked him for the information and left the cafe with my heart pounding. I called Alex. He took his time answering. What's wrong now? He asked with a rough, tired voice. Louise isn't who she says she is. You already told me that, Sarah, but that doesn't help me. It doesn't tell me what to do with her or how. You can start by talking to one of her victims. Silence. Tomas wants to tell you his story. Are you going to run away from that too? He sighed. Long. Give me the number. I hung up without saying more. Hours later, Madison wrote to me. She had reviewed old profiles and found something strange. An old photo on a forgotten blog. Louise, or someone identical, appeared with another name, at a party, kissing an older man. In the comments, "Happy 3 months, Daddy." The date coincided with the period when she supposedly met Alex. The image was deleted now, but Madison had saved it. I sent everything to Ernesto. That night, I sat with Dad in the living room. We didn't say much. We just watched in silence as Alex's phone remained inactive. What if it's too late? I asked quietly. Dad shook his head. As long as he's alive, it's never too late to open your eyes. Alex had them open, but they no longer looked the same. Ernesto confirmed to me that he spoke with him, that Tomas told him everything in a tense and long call. And although Alex didn't say much, he didn't hang up. He listened. That, at this point, was a crack in Louise's wall. Next day, Ernesto called me with a new tone in his voice. More serious, more confident. I found what we suspected. Louise doesn't work in digital marketing. There's no contract, no trace, no company that has her on payroll, not as a freelancer, not as an external collaborator. And then what does she live on? Here comes the interesting part. Personal transfers, money app payments from at least 3 different men in the last 12 months. One of them was a victim of credit card fraud. The card was in his name, but the charges went to an address linked to Louise. He reported it, but the bank closed the case for lack of evidence. And that address? Alex lives there now. I stayed. Silent. Are you saying she could have used his address to hide purchases made with stolen cards? That and more. The purchases were for clothes, appliances, furniture, things that are now in your brother's apartment. I closed my eyes. The web wasn't just emotional. It was financial. And Alex, unknowingly, was part of the mechanism. And the debt. She has 2 active lawsuits in other states for failure to pay. One of them includes an amount over $8,000. There are records of legal contact attempts, but she never appeared. It seems she moves just before the cases escalate. Is there anything else? Ernesto hesitated. The most serious is this. Her mother didn't just ask for a restraining order. She also wrote a letter to a court alleging that her daughter suffers from antisocial personality disorder, informally diagnosed by a psychologist who treated her when she was a teenager. Antisocial? Like psychopath? It's a clinical term, don't take it like a movie, but yes, manipulation, lack of empathy, tendency to lie without guilt, using others for personal benefit. Everything fits. My skin crawled. I'm going to tell Alex. Wait. If he confronts her directly without solid evidence, she can turn everything in her favor. We need concrete evidence, documents, accounts, recordings, something that completely disarms her. I nodded, though he couldn't see me. That night, Alex called me. Are you home? Yes. I'm coming over, I just need to talk. He arrived an hour. Later, dark circles under his eyes, wrinkled jacket collar and eyes, those eyes, full of something I hadn't seen in a long time. Fear. He sat on the sofa without taking off his coat. Did you know she has access to my accounts? He asked suddenly. No. When we moved in together, she asked for my passwords in case something happened. I didn't think. Today I checked my bank. There are charges I don't recognize, and I don't know what to do. I took out my phone. There's more, Alex, and you're not going to like it. I showed him Ernesto's documents. The list of lawsuits, the false names, the addresses, the photos. At first he didn't speak. He just looked at them, as if they were in another language. What if all this is a coincidence? He whispered, already without conviction. Alex. I touched his shoulder. Do you remember what you said on my wedding day? That she threatened to hurt herself, that you found pills in her bed. Do you think that was coincidence too? No. And do you think someone who loves you does that? Alex squeezed his eyes shut. When he opened them, something in him had broken. But it was necessary. I have to get out of this, he said. We're going to help you. He nodded. He stayed there in silence. Meanwhile, Louise posted a new Instagram story, a selfie in front of the mirror with the caption, "The calm before the storm." That was exactly what followed. 2 days after Alex saw all the documents, Louise disappeared for a whole night. She didn't answer calls or messages. Alex, scared, thought about going to the police. I asked him to wait. Something didn't fit. And the next day, she came back. But not walking. She came back in an ambulance. She arrived at the emergency room with cuts on her arms. Superficial. Suicide attempt, they said. Alex called me from the hospital, his voice broken. She's here. I don't know what to do. I went immediately. In the waiting room, Alex was pacing, red eyes. He hugged me without saying anything. I let him cry. Then, a doctor in a white coat came in, hair pulled back and an experienced look. Family of Louise? Alex raised his hand, hesitating. I'm her partner. Well, I don't know. The doctor introduced herself as the shift psychiatrist. I need to talk to you. Can we sit? She took us to a small room, closed the door. She's stable. The wounds weren't serious. In fact, they seemed to have been made with little pressure. No vascular damage, no signs of bleeding out. Was it a real attempt? I asked. The doctor sighed. We can't judge intentions, but we can judge patterns. This isn't the first patient I've seen with self-harm behaviors with manipulative components. And there's something else. Alex looked up. What? Louise tried to seduce one of the doctors, right on the stretcher. She told him that men like him should save her from men like Alex. Alex sank into the chair. I took his hand. She's using this to keep you, to turn the story in her favor. The doctor nodded. My recommendation is that you don't take her home. You're not obligated. And you, if you decide to stay involved, are going to need psychological support. This goes beyond the emotional. That night, Alex didn't visit her anymore. And Louise knew it. She posted a dark story with a black and white photo from the hospital. Abandoned, said the caption. The next morning, a series of cryptic tweets appeared on her account. When you trust someone and that someone stabs you, people pretend to be good until they don't need you anymore. True abuse is invisible. And so the narrative changed. Now, Alex was the abuser. In the days that followed, Louise left the hospital and returned to the apartment. Alex was no longer there. He had stayed at Dad's house. That quote S when the messages began. To me, to Madison, to my mother. Veiled insults, insinuations, threats to expose the truth about Alex. Photos of old manipulated chats, screenshots of edited conversations. Alex was accused of verbal abuse, then physical, then blackmail. There was never a formal complaint, but rumors started spreading on social media. In women's forums, someone shared a thread under an anonymous user telling a similar story. Too similar. That account turned out to be linked to an email Louise had used years before. Dad didn't wait anymore. He contacted a lawyer. That was the next step, and also the beginning of another war. The man Dad hired was named Ortega, specialist in cases of harassment, defamation, and psychological manipulation. He received us with an empty folder and many questions. "I need evidence," he said. "If she's defaming your son, we need to document it. Screenshots, audios, messages, everything." Alex handed over his phone. Madison provided recordings. I showed the old photos and fake accounts. Ortega barely blinked. "We're going to request a restraining order, but if she violates it, we'll have to prove it quickly." 3 days later, a judge approved the temporary order. Louise couldn't approach Alex, or within 500 meters, or contact him directly or indirectly. It lasted less than 48 hours. The same day they notified her of the order, she appeared in front of Dad's house, crying. When they wouldn't open the door, she left an envelope on the doorstep. Inside, a handwritten letter full of phrases that made no sense. "I don't know who I am without you. If you leave me, I die. Everyone is against me." Along with the letter, a bracelet Alex had given her months earlier, broken in two. The letter was enough to violate the order. Ortega delivered it to the court. But Louise didn't stop. She created a fake profile on social media, pretending to be an ex-partner of Alex. The profile told that Alex had hit her, that the family covered it up, that they had reported him before. But no one listened. The profile was reported and closed. But another appeared days later, then another, and another. And she wasn't alone. There were people who followed her, people who believed her story. Some even wrote threats to Alex's work. One of his bosses asked for explanations. Alex had to take a leave. Dad was furious. Madison cried that night. "I just felt an icy cold that wouldn't go away." As if Louise had opened the door to a world where truth didn't matter. Ortega gathered us all and was clear. "We're not dealing with a scorned ex-partner. This woman operates with method. She's manipulative, digitally savvy, and dangerous. We're going to need more than evidence. We need time and pressure." "And if she doesn't stop?" Alex asked, already at the edge. "Then she falls on her own. But first, she'll try to take everyone down with her." She didn't respond to boundaries. Court orders were suggestions, rejections, invitations, and silence for her was the most violent weapon of all. When Alex stopped answering her, Louise unleashed an offensive that transformed shame into fury and manipulation into punishment. The morning after the lawyer's threat, we woke up to a mass email. The subject said, "So you can meet the real Alex." It had been sent to colleagues, distant relatives, even the institutional email of the company where Alex worked. The content: altered screenshots, edited messages, audio fragments taken out of context, along with a text where Louise narrated a supposed story of psychological abuse. The message structure was professional, almost clinical. She used terms like covert narcissist, cycle of abuse, and systematic isolation. Madison ran into my room, pale. "My ex-boss wrote to me," she said. "He got the email. How did she get all those contacts?" Alex used the same email for everything. She had access. Dad called the lawyer immediately. "There's no way to reverse the reputational damage," Ortega said, with the cruel calm of someone who had seen this before. "But we can file a formal complaint for defamation, digital harassment, and violation of the court order." "Will that be enough to stop her?" I asked. "No, but it can put her against the wall." Louise didn't stop. She began commenting on family members' posts, using fake profiles. She pretended to be other women. She said she knew Alex, said she had evidence, said there was a family cover-up network. My uncle's cafe Instagram account received a 1-star review with the phrase, "They support abusers." My mother's WhatsApp rang with anonymous messages. "You should be ashamed." One afternoon, Mom broke down. "I can't anymore. This woman is infecting everything. I can't even look at the phone without feeling like she's inside my house." Alex didn't talk much. He got up late, ate little, slept less. Ortega filed the complaint. In parallel, Ernesto kept searching. One night, he called me with a different voice. More alive. "I have something." "What?" "She's with another man." "Now?" "Yes. He lives in another district. Same pattern. She convinced him of an intense, fast relationship and already has access to his house. I have photos. He sent them to me. Louise hugging a man of about 40 in a park, kissing him. A week ago, I showed them to Alex. He took his time reacting. So, while all this was happening, she already had another plan. She always had a plan. Alex stared at the photo for a full minute. Then, without saying a word, he got up and went to the kitchen. I heard him open a box. It was the one containing anniversary gifts. He came back with a folded sheet. She wrote this to me when we turned 1 year. Read it. I opened it. It said, "I've never loved anyone like I love you. Without you, I'm nothing." I left it on the table. "And what do we do now?" Alex asked. "We sink the castle of lies." Ortega received the photos. Ernesto kept digging. 3 days later, he delivered the rest. Louise had opened a credit card with Alex's information. She had made purchases without his permission for more than $5,000. The worst part, some of those purchases were gifts for her new boyfriend. The police accepted the fraud complaint. When they notified Louise, she faked fainting at the building entrance. Then, she screamed that Alex had stalked her, that she feared for her life. All of that was recorded by security cameras. Finally, a patrol arrived. And Louise was arrested. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She only asked, "Can I touch up my makeup before the photo?" Nobody answered. At the police station, she denied everything. She said she was the victim of a hate campaign, that Alex's family had persecuted her for being different, that everything was a lie. But one by one, the evidence accumulated. Tomas, the ex-partner, agreed to testify, the woman who lived with her too. The previous complaints, the falsified documents, the created profiles, the purchases made with other people's accounts, the lies about her identity. The prosecutor didn't take long to act. Alex was called as a witness, but not as the accused. And that was the first night in months that he slept without leaving the light on. A month later, Louise was still detained awaiting trial. She had pleaded innocent to everything, but her public defender didn't have much to offer. The case grew every day. More people came forward with similar stories, ex-partners, roommates, even a former boss who accused her of falsifying job recommendations. Each testimony was like another stone falling on her inflatable castle. Alex, meanwhile, was starting to hit rock bottom. It wasn't just about the material losses, the drained savings, the furniture given away unknowingly, the months of rent paid for too. It was about something more intimate. "I feel stupid," he said one night, sitting on the house porch, smoking a cigarette he hated but that kept him awake. "I don't know at what point I became that kind of person." "What kind?" I asked. "The kind that lets everything get ripped away from them." I handed him a blanket. It was cold. The kind of cold that doesn't just come from the air. You didn't let it happen. It happened because you trusted. And isn't that the same thing? "No," I responded. "The difference is that now you're here. And you're talking." Alex agreed to start therapy. Ortega knew a psychologist who specialized in trauma from emotional manipulation. The first sessions were hard. He came back without talking. He slept more. He cried little, but at random moments. One night, while we were having dinner, he said something that left me motionless. "I think I never loved her." I looked at him. "I think I loved the idea that someone like her would notice someone like me." "And how are you?" "I don't know. I guess I thought I was the boring one, the logical one, the one who didn't surprise anyone. And she was the complete opposite. Noise, color, intensity. I thought that was love." Dad joined the silence. Madison from the kitchen heard him too. "People who are pure color can also be smoke," she said without looking at us. Alex began to rebuild himself. Step by step. In one of the sessions, his therapist suggested he write a letter to Louise. Not to send it. To get out what he hadn't said. He read it only to me. It said, "You didn't break me. You stopped me. Yes. You made me doubt myself, think I was crazy. You made me choose you over my own family. But you didn't break me. The day you left, my life began. You took things. Yes. But you didn't take my truth. Because that, Louise, was never yours." He kept the letter in a box and moved forward. The trial began 2 months later. Louise entered the courtroom with the same theatrical look as always. The judge was implacable. The evidence was too much. The stories matched. The lies documented. She was convicted of fraud, violation of court order, aggravated harassment, and identity theft. 3 years in prison, with obligation to start psychiatric treatment. She didn't scream. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She just looked away toward Alex. "You're never going to find someone like me," she told him with half a smile. "That's the idea," he responded. Months later, Alex returned to work. He changed his number. He changed his email. He changed his house. He didn't stop going to therapy. He met someone new. Her name was Clara, graphic designer, fond of old music, and cinnamon tea. He introduced her to us on a Sunday at a small lunch without noise. Without shows. She was a real person. She laughed when Alex choked on an olive, helped him clean the table, and at the end of the day offered to wash the dishes. Mom cried. Dad only said, "It was about time." Alex never talked about Louise again. But one afternoon, I asked his permission to check the old box where he kept the letter. "Do you still have it?" "Yes." He opened it. But the letter wasn't alone. There was something else. A pamphlet. Support group for victims of psychological abuse and emotional manipulation. Every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Alex looked at it for a moment. "Sometimes I think it was a curse. And now? Now, I think it was a door." Today, Alex is a lawyer. Not the same kind as Dad, nor one who defends companies. He quotes one who sits with broken people and tells them, "I was there too." And when they ask him how he got out, he responds without drama. "Listening to my sister."